Grant Cardone is the face that goes out and talks about things. And no disrespect to anything he's built, because hell yeah, he got tied to the right capital. And so because he's tied to that level of capital, it has now poured gasoline on his fire of what he's doing. And I'm here to tell you, you can do the same thing. Every single day I have the opportunity to work with different entrepreneurs who believe in order for me to start a fund, I have to do all kinds of weird, crazy things. I have to have all these metrics and all these things to be able to be there. And I'm here to tell you, that doesn't have to be the case. I've seen things that wouldn't be there. In order for you to get access to capital, what you have to first do is work on yourself.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
What's up, people? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. I am your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod, and on today's episode, what I'm going to talk to you about is a gentleman who is very polarizing on the world of social media. He is none other than Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone has a polarizing figure that talks about everything real estate, why debt is a good thing, why you shouldn't own a home and having different investments. And he has a very, very defined process. He's an international best-selling author of 10X. He has just done so many different things, but I'm here to tell you, like I do on every episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, of what is the real thing that powers Grant Cardone. So I remember when I first found out about Grant Cardone, there was a 10X growth conference that happened to be there. And so Grant talks about the reason why he actually created the 10X brand and went through that process is because of 2008. We had a global financial crisis that happened around the mortgage-backed securities market just going belly up. A lot of financial institutions went away in the U.S. There hasn't been really a new bank created, rebranded, but not really recreated. Investment banking firms failed, yada, yada, yada. So Grant was talking about how at that current period of time, he owned roughly about $50 million of real estate. And when that happened, all of a sudden, there's lots of people and lots of different reports that talk about how the banks just automatically moved money over to pay off the notes to be able to go there. And it was in that moment he realized, crap, I'm actually not as important as I thought I would be. And the people who were getting the calls were the individuals who had $1 billion, $700 million worth of assets and of debts that were outstanding, where the banks work with them one-on-one. So he looked at it and said, I'm just going to 10X what I'm currently doing because I'm just not big enough. To date, he has over $5 billion worth of debts that he talks about. So while that statement is very true, like it's the bigger you are, the harder it is for you to fail. Like it's the statement we call in the world of finance of that company's too big to fail. It's because if they fail, there's a massive thing that ends up happening. The U.S. government stepped in and created certain rules where they stopped shorts on these mortgage-backed securities company because they knew that if the banking system fails, the entire economy fails. So that thesis is true. It's been tested for a different period of time. If you get too big to fail, that's what's going on. So I firmly believe that when it comes, like 10X is actually easier than 2X because 10X forces you to change your philosophy of how you're looking at things and how you're evaluating your business. So let me tell you a little secret about Grant Cardone that he doesn't talk about. So many times you hear him talk about the story of how he sold his place in Los Angeles, moved to Florida, took that money and rolled it into an apartment building. A few years later, the apartment building appreciated, and they come back to him saying, hey, do you want to refinance? You're going to pull out $60 million and you don't pay any taxes on it. And he goes, whoa, be able to be there. The one thing he doesn't tell you about is that his house that he sold in LA back in the mid 2000s was worth $16 million. So you can ask yourself, where the hell did he get the $16 million from to be able to do it? What was he doing before? How did he be able to be there? I'm going to let you in a little unknown secret unless you actually directly look for it. Grant Cardone is based in the Church of Scientology. He is the highest tier you can be able to get, the same as Tom Cruise. Most of the backers who backs these very large-scale projects is ran by the Church of Scientology, who, as you can guess, has a fund. That fund helps capitalize a majority of the projects that Grant Cardone works on. If you look at that, you can go, damn it, here's an aha moment. One, I didn't know he was a Scientologist, as the person I spoke to earlier today said to me. Two, I'm removing the mud from the lenses of life of what you're being told versus what the real truth is. If you look at that, he's powered by those, which means people move different when they know they have a war chest of money behind them. To get to that place, yeah, it sucks. There's different levels. You can read anybody's autobiography who created something themselves. But once they understand this game, they go, oh yeah, I definitely want to play that game. Grant Cardone is the face that goes out and talks about things. And no disrespect to anything he's built, because hell yeah, he got tied to the right capital. And so because he's tied to that level of capital, it has now poured gasoline on his fire of what he's doing. And I'm here to tell you, you can do the same thing. If you're listening to this podcast, number one, you're connected to me, which means somehow, some way, we have a little bit of simpatico that happens to be there. Every single day, I have the opportunity to work with different entrepreneurs who believe in order for me to start a fund, I have to do all kinds of weird, crazy things. I have to have all these metrics and all these things to be able to be there. And I'm here to tell you, that doesn't have to be the case. I've seen things that wouldn't be there. In order for you to get access to capital, what you have to first do is work on yourself. You have to be able to understand yourself, because if I go ahead and pour capital on you, it doesn't mean that things are going to be there. Let's think about it like the lottery, right? We look at the percentage of lottery winners who win the lottery. What happens within 2 to 3 years of it? They're bankrupt. Why? It's no different than giving a 1,000 horsepower car to a 16-year-old kid who just got their driver's license. If they don't know how to drive that type of vehicle, it's dangerous to be able to be there. So the more you get to know yourself, the more you get to understand what it is that you really want, the better the opportunity becomes. In Grant Cardone's situation, he knew what he wanted. He knew that real estate was going to be the type of vehicle he wanted to operate inside of. So the best thing of doing when you have a fund is ensuring that you can be able to pay back contributions to your investors. And so obviously they've had a relationship for 20 plus years where he's been able to deliver returns. Some years are going to be shakier than other ones, but more importantly, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why a vision was given to you. Your dreams are yours. Imagination is nothing but a preview of what is to come in your life if you choose to do the work. That's why I want to inform people that you're only a couple conversations away from being able to make it possible. We're the most connected in the history of time, but we're also the most disconnected at the same time. Why? Because you're used to taking the blue pill and not the red pill. My gift to my audience is that I hope you start taking the red pill and you start seeing things for what they are, not what you wish they were. Because what will end up occurring is that you'll be at a place where you're like, all right, cool, I'm ready to do this. If I'm a coach, if I'm a consultant, and I'm looking at my clients and I'm helping them grow their companies and I'm looking to be able to be there, negotiate a piece of the growth that you bring to the organization. That's so much value to be able to be there. Why do we look at, like in companies, why salespeople are normally, their compensation is normally up there close to the CEO from high tiered sellers? Because they're out there hunting and finding new lifeblood to deliver revenue towards what they're doing. The only difference is you don't get to participate in there. So if we look at that, Grant Cardone, same process. He had great backers. He has individuals that are there to support them, because just because an organization is a nonprofit doesn't mean they're not playing offense. There are plenty of nonprofits out there that are playing offense. You just may have not have heard of it, but you hear things like scholarship fund, endowment fund. Now I hope you can start seeing it, because an endowment fund is all the first part talks about is what is the mission or the vehicle they're going to use to grow the return on money for investors. If I'm an endowment fund, that means that the thesis of what I'm doing on it is to give out scholarships that are going to have a certain return, but based upon tax law, you don't want to be conceived as receiving a gift. They're structured a very particular way. But they're still working on the back end to make sure that they're operating as a private bank, which is the basis of a fund. So I hope this message serves. You look at Grant Cardone in a way of like, all right, cool. What can I take away from this? 10x is easier than 2x. You can take the 10x mentality and be like, and ask yourself, because guess what? Sometimes when you ask yourself this question for a dream, the shoes don't feel very comfortable. If anything, I always tell people, come back to me in 2 weeks. Let it marinate. There's a difference. There's a reason why barbecue food is so damn good. It's because you don't cook it at high temperature and cook it fast. You actually cook it slow. 16, 18 hours on a brisket. Like, give it some time. Let it go through. Let it absorb the wood chip flavor that you have, or any of the dry rub you put on there. Let it absorb. Same thing with your dreams. Listen, be quiet, sit still. Spend a couple weeks thinking about, if I had access to $100 million, what would I actually want to do? And what I will tell you, you'll get the utmost clarity. You'll be like, okay, this is actually the business I want to play in. I actually didn't really want to play in here, but this is just more of an opportunity. And you'll realize everything you can imagine is true, as long as you're willing to do the necessary steps to go make it happen. So I hope this message served. As always, you can find me on all social media channels, from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, at Sylvania Harrod. Feel free to, if you're listening to this episode, shoot me a DM, tell me your thoughts, tell me things to be able to be there. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. I appreciate every one of you. Stay grateful, my friends. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more people ready to explore contrarian investment strategies. Stay connected with us on social media for more expert insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. You can find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, stay bold, think differently, and keep pursuing the legacy you deserve. Thanks for listening to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.